All right, Trey Biddy with HawgSports with us here on the Lewis Automotive Group hotline. Trey, there's probably 10 topics that we can get into with this morning, but let's start the one that Tommy and I were just discussing. Your initial thoughts on this NIL bill, and I believe you might have to correct me on this, but I think this is the first SEC state to actually sign this into law, if I remember reading that correctly.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, depending on, I guess, how it all shakes out, I guess you could look at it as the state of Arkansas giving $1 million to the Razorbacks, basically an extra $1 million or so. What is it, like, 4% probably for $100,000 state of Arkansas tax? So, yeah, I mean, there's different ways. I'm sure. Yeah, I heard you guys opening up. My parents certainly never told me that life was fair. I think we all got that message when we were growing up. But yeah, I mean, I guess there's a couple ways to look at it. Like if you're a big Razorback fan, maybe this is a way to get a slight edge, maybe an extra $1 million out of your NIL situation. If you're others, then you're frustrated with the way college athletics has gone over the years, and this is just another kind of kick.
So, Trey, great to talk to you this morning. Let's, for the audience that maybe is just now catching up, had a busy weekend, just hearing, Chuck and Bo talk about it and us get in on let's give the thumbnail sketch of what's going on here. And because this came out late Friday, I think a lot of people maybe didn't catch up to this from the weekend and still trying to figure out what's going on. So let's get everybody kind of here on the same page with our discussion.
Yeah, and basically just no state income tax for NIL for Arkansas athletes. I mean, that's it in a nutshell, isn't it? Unless I'm missing something or misinterpreting. So basically, I guess revenue sharing is included in this because technically that's kind of viewed as NIL, which the whole thing of NIL is wrong. Like, NIL is a soft drink company saying, I think this guy can move soda for us, not I think this guy can help us win football games. That's not what name, image, and likeness is supposed to be.
Pay for play, and that's what it's become.
It is pay for play, and for some reason we're calling it NIL, and the fact that we're doing it screws the whole system up, the fact that we're calling it that. So I assume rev share is a part of that, and, that's $20.5 million. The revenue share budget, which when that comes into effect, which we're expecting it to, that is 22% of the average revenue of Power 5, Power 4 schools, which comes out to $20.5 million per school. Some schools won't have that amount of money to spend. Arkansas SEC schools will, and that's on top of the money that they can get from NIL. However, we're moving to a system that should have more oversight. So the days of someone getting an NIL deal for $2 million as a freshman quarterback to go somewhere and they end up making a couple of tweets about it, those days should be over. Now, somebody probably figure out some type of loophole or whatever, but those days should be over because anything over $600 is going to have to be approved through the clearinghouse, which has also hired a third-party, Deloitte, an accounting firm, to help them with that. So you have to prove fair market value for any of these extra NIL deals beyond what you want to give a player from the revenue sharing side of things. So making a couple of tweets about, a law firm and getting $500,000 for it, that's not going to cut it. And from what I understand, like if you're caught, doing that, that money will be taken away from your revenue sharing budget. So hopefully, all this comes into effect, and that's where we move. But athletes don't want to be employees, and schools don't want athletes as employees. The only people that seem to want that is fans, who, to me, are forgotten in this whole thing. Because I've always said, you have to take care of the players. Players should be paid? Okay, fine. Players should be paid. You got to take care of the coaches, staff, administration. You got to take care of the integrity of the sport. You got to take care of the fans. And the fans, to me, are the ones that are most frustrated. Like, you'd be hard-pressed to find many people in Arkansas that think this is just great and they're enjoying it, or that their interest in recruiting hasn't dropped significantly. And throughout college football, guys, like we're getting rid of spring games now across the country. We're getting rid of spring games. I mean, those used to be kind of fun. Used to enjoy a spring game. Bowl games don't matter anymore. Loyalty doesn't matter. There are 54 players, 54 fresh faces on the roster this year. Like, what fan used to be able to maybe keep up with it if you were a diehard? Like, okay, there's this number of recruits coming in. We still got these guys back, you know. Now you got to remember 54 new names on your football team.
And you never get to know them, really.
No, you really don't. And the access is more limited than it's ever been, too. I mean, like, we get great access in the spring, and I'm thankful for that, but you look around college football, Arkansas is very rare in terms of allowing me to go watch 28 hours of practice this spring. Most schools around the country don't even do that. So the fans are important, obviously, and we're hurting that relationship, I think.
Trey Biddy with us, HawgSports here on Opening Drive on the Lewis Automotive Group hotline. Trey, Arkansas really, I was curious to how many guys they would lose in the portal in the spring before it closed. And I know grad transfers have the exception of the rule that they can jump in and whatnot anytime. But really, you got, I guess, 6 guys now that you brought in, and your losses kind of seem minimal. I know Tyrell Reed entered recently, but just kind of your thoughts on this spring portal period for that Arkansas roster thus far.
I'm sorry, you cut out on me, Ty.
Oh, yeah, just the spring roster and just the portal period, and the losses seem kind of minimal for this football team heading into fall.
Yeah, not any big. I thought there would probably be a couple of different positions that maybe got hit harder than they did, but no, I don't. I wrote like 12 portal stories, and yeah, we didn't use anything close to that. It's kind of weird writing a story about somebody because you have to be prepared for when it happens. So it's kind of weird writing a portal story for a guy that's never enters the transfer portal. But we kind of got to stay on top of those things. But no, nothing too dramatic. There hasn't been anything official on Jordan Anthony whether he'll stick with track, but I think he will. He ran a 9.98 100-meter dash, by the way, recently. But I think he will end up sticking just with track. I've got Arkansas at 84 scholarships after adding Andy Neal, the wide receiver. So, yeah, that's not too bad. Yeah. Not too bad as far as guys exiting. Aside from Matt Niamaliava, obviously grabbed a lot of headlines.
One of the guys you'd love to have back on this roster, but he's exhausted his eligibility, is Andrew Armstrong. It goes undrafted. Yeah. I think Tommy and I were surprised that Landon was drafted behind Isaac Tesla, but just your surprise level for seeing Andrew not get drafted this weekend.
Well, I was very surprised. First of all, Andrew Armstrong is a 6-year wide receiver. So those guys in the first place, aren't getting drafted, if at all. Like, you can look around the country, you're not going to see many guys that have been in college that long that are suddenly just going to shoot up draft boards. So that was one kind of indicator. But he ran well at the combine. He produced, good numbers at the combine overall. I would say, he interviewed well. He's a great kid. He shows a lot of dedication. He put up great numbers. So what is not to like about Andrew Armstrong that he goes undrafted? Like, what is it? And then you have Isaac Tesla, who, checks a lot of those categories also. Great kid, great combine numbers, obviously. He put up one of the best combines of anybody at wide receiver in history. And I knew he would because I knew some of his summer testing numbers and stuff, but didn't have that same production, didn't start a lot of games. And he gets drafted higher than any other Razorback. that was really surprising. I thought that he might slip into the draft. I did not expect him to be the first Razorback off the board, nor did I expect Landon to drop into the third round, because he had a great combine also and was also very productive, multi-year starter, still had eligibility left in college. So, yeah, a little bit surprised on that, and only 2 Razorbacks drafted overall.
Trey, do you think this law that was slipped in, I'm going to call it slipped in at the last minute, and we learned of it on Friday, where players are not going to be taxed by the state of Arkansas on their NIL and revenue-sharing money, do you think that changes the sentiment of the fans towards players? Do you think the tide is going to start turning in how fans view players and the level of accountability, or at least that's the word a lot of fans like to use? Do you think the treatment of players will be different moving forward as a result of A, the money, and B, examples of things like the law that was passed on Friday, or we learned about on Friday?
Yeah. No, I think absolutely. I think it already has. I think, it just piles on. It changes the way I write about players. People used to ask me, on radio and such, if I thought somebody was going to transfer, and I would always be like, well, I don't want to, that's not a question I really want to answer. But now, yeah, I talk about players that, need to transfer or, aren't producing and probably should find another place, just because that is where we are now. And you have to talk about that kind of stuff if you're going to report on a team. And I absolutely feel like fans have gotten more harsh on players. And, maybe part of it's just, I could say, the rise of social media, but social media has been around a while. Some people used to say that, that's just fans on social media. Well, everybody is on social media. Who's not on social? Who doesn't have social media? So I think it's a representation of how people feel about these kids now. So it's one more step in how all this hasn't been great for college football, but players getting paid, I don't know that it's so much that it's just players getting paid. It's just the lack of accountability, like the lack of loyalty, players, the perceived loyalty anyway, players just leaving at the drop of a hat for a better deal. And that has changed the way fans will openly talk about players, whereas they used to be more guarded when they viewed them as kids and amateurs.
Trey, we'll leave it there, man. Good stuff with us this morning, and we'll chat as we get closer to football season.
Okay. Bye, guys.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball season is in full swing, and we're into the home stretch for NBA and NHL playoffs. BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With the largest selection of odds on everything from the MLB, NHL, and UFC, BetOnline remains the number one online source for all your sports wagering information. In between games, head over to BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here.